Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night Straight Talk. Tonight, we're going to be talking with Leslie Uko.
Hi.
And for those of you who don't know, I'll let Leslie introduce herself formally in a moment. And next week, we will have David Jimenez. So tonight, we're going to talk about membership and some concepts around membership, benefits, values of membership, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of great questions. So with that, let's have Leslie introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name's Leslie Ugo, and what I do here with Local 1000 is I'm the director of the Union Resource Centers, which includes our membership department and our Member Resource Center. And I have been with the local, in October, it'll be about 20 years. And I started out as a state of California employee. I used to work for EDD, and I did that for about 10 years, and I was also a job steward. So I've been around for just a little bit. Thank you.
So we have a couple of different things to talk about, but one of the things I wanted to lead into is as members, our membership is about power, and it's power in a concerted way through your union. So to get power, we need more we and less me, right? Even though I'm kind of about me. And it's a choice, right? So the choice we make is to stand together, to stand with our coworker, right? I stand with Leslie, right? And when we make that choice and we reach solidarity, union solidarity is real power. And that's the power we need to move forward. When we talk about other elements that we sometimes confuse with power, when we talk about sit-ins, call-ins, sick-outs, or strikes, those are actually tactics. But those tactics cannot be successful unless we have the solidarity and the power of choosing to stand together. So they go hand in hand, but sometimes people confuse tactics for power when real power comes out of the choice to stand together. What do you think?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think some of the things that I found in my 20 years is that I have found that management understands this really well, which is why you see a lot of these what is known as the 4Ds, where they divide, they delay, they distract, and they demoralize, because they understand that the power that workers truly have. We've seen some of that in recent history with, Amazon. We've seen it with Starbucks. We saw it in October with all of the strikes going on at some major companies that hadn't had strikes in quite a while. So management already understands the power that you have as a worker, because what they need you for is the product that you deliver to them. Your labor is what they need. And the withholding of that labor, they understand that's the power. But they also understand that people are not comfortable doing that. Most people want to go to work with no issues and go home. But unfortunately, that's not where we find ourselves. We're in a situation where your work and your time, unfortunately, is sometimes disrespected and taken for granted. And if we want the power to affect a change in our workplace, it's not going to happen through people just hoping that it happens, or hoping that the nice manager is going to be the guy that we have across the table. We have to show the power, and one of the main ways that we show power is through membership. The state understands that, and so what we have to do is we have to get our members at large to understand that as well, because the state already does.
So with that, let's open it up and start getting some questions in here tonight. So if you have a question of myself or Leslie, if you have something you'd like to add, a comment or an observation, please raise your hand and we'll start taking calls from people. I don't see any hands yet. Come on, people, join us.
Well, if I can add then, while we're waiting for somebody to get on, another part of I think I see a hand, so I'll be quiet right now.
Yeah, David. So, David, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Sure, thank you. So I know the power of membership and everything, and my question is, have we ever looked into reducing the dues to sign up more people? Because it seems to me that it would be easier to sign up 5 people for $20 than one person for $100. And I'm just giving that as an example. So I don't know if I'm alone on this thought process, but if we're all about getting members and trying to get members to join, then I know other unions are paying a lot less than we are. So has that been ever discussed or brought up in any type of meeting? Thank you.
If I may, I take, yeah, my understanding that, yeah, it's been talked about, but there's still, there's a financial part of all of this, right? So for instance, just the act of bargaining is extremely expensive. Just the act of bargaining, let alone all of the other things that we engage in, right? With the general representation, with the housing of, place for our members to gather, we have offices, and all of that takes money. I don't know of too many unions that are less than us. From what I have seen, we are on the lower end of dues, especially since we cap ours at a particular amount of like 90 some odd dollars. We cap it, where other places, they don't cap it. You still play that percentage based on what you earn. So we have high earners that would be paying a lot more had we not capped it.
And I think to go along with that, one of the things that you have to take into consideration is the cost of providing service. So each member requires a certain amount of financial support. It takes staff, it takes organization, it takes reaching out and dealing with the state. So it's not necessarily a case of having 5 for 100 is the same as having 1 for 100. There is a difference in there, but I think there is certainly merit to having a conversation. And I think the conversation would be different if we weren't all feeling financially strapped because of the costs of living in California and 5 years of zeros going back to Schwarzenegger that we've never recovered from. Those kind of things really hurt us. So a great subject, but it is a complicated one. I see no more hands after David. Nobody else wants to join in tonight? Oh, come on, help us out. Don't leave us out here by ourselves. So we were talking about the 4Ds while we're waiting for somebody else to jump up. So what have you seen the state to do in the form of a delay?
Well, we can see that in our own various bargaining units in how they will allow one person or one unit, a classification, to receive a benefit, usually financial. And even though we may be working on 2 or 3, they seem to be able to only do 1 at a time. And it usually takes a lot of time for the others to get on board. And sometimes they will do this in the same department. Which, of course, when you start talking about money and people find out that one group had it and another doesn't, that automatically causes a divide. Because people start asking, well, if them, why not me? The work that I produce is just as important. So, I mean, that is one easy way that I have seen throughout the years that they have done that.
And I also think it plays into distract, because now you're looking at the other member and the union, not the employer.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's a distraction.
Absolutely.
And then it is kind of demoralizing to be working next to somebody who does similar work, not necessarily the same, but similar.
Yes.
Maybe work that is no more important than yours, but it has gotten a 5% bonus or a
Mhm,
special
mhm.
salary adjustment or
A special sal-
something
Yes.
when you haven't,
Yes,
right?
yes, and that hurts. It hurts it because like Bill said, you're going in there, and sometimes the work difference is very minimal. The difference that what one person does to what another person does, it can be minimal, at least to those that are doing it. And so it's like, why am I not getting it? Because I believe I bring value too. So that is one. I mean, the distraction can also be, I think in the ways of bad management that's not dealt with because it demoralizes that environment as well as distracts people from what they're supposed to be doing because they've got a bad player that has power.
Oh, we have another brave soul. Let's let Dwight on.
Okay.
Dwight, go ahead and unmute and join us.
Yes, my question is, when you go back to the bargaining table, are they going to try to shoot for the medical stipend again, the $260? How does that work? It sounded like you guys started to talk about that just a second ago, but I'm more concerned about the medical side. I know that's going to be going away in June. Is that something that you're only going to try to shoot for again, or?
So, yeah, Brooke and Irene were on 2 weeks ago and talked about this issue. And what they said was, if you're one of the employees who is losing that in June, that you need to make sure you sign back up to get it again. So you can call the MRC tomorrow and get a direct answer, probably better than I can give you one right now sitting in front of you. But for some people, it does go away in June. However, if you re-up and reapply, you are still eligible. Let's
that
move
only-
on. Does that help?
Does that only apply? You said that some people, I mean, does it apply to depending on what bargaining unit you're in or your eligibility? I'm trying to
I
understand that.
don't have the specifics on that in front of me. And again, if you reach out to the Resource Center tomorrow, I would be willing to bet that they are more up to speed on it than I am tonight.
And if I may too, your personnel specialist in your office may
Okay.
be of some assistance as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go on and we have Susanna. Let's go ahead and unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh yeah, I have a question. I'm Miranda. I work at CCWF CNA. Hi, good evening. Oh, it's first time I try to get into this one last week, the other week, and I barely got in. Yeah. So
Well,
I have a
we're glad
question.
you're here tonight.
Yeah, nice. I have a question. I was trying to get a hold of Annika. I supposed to start my Zoom, the CNA rep, next month. I would like to see if she could give me a call. See
Okay, I'll
when I
write that.
start. Yeah.
And
And
that's
Susanna Miranda. Yeah.
Susanna Miranda, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we'll make sure we get that to her, okay?
Yes, I have a question. Have you guys heard of what's going on with the Central Pay?
Essential worker pay.
Yes.
We're working at getting back to the bargaining table with the state. We just
Okay.
received a date today.
Okay.
Um, We will be back meeting with the state for the first time on April 27th.
Okay, then I have a question. Can you guys answer when they cancel you in overtime? How many hours do they have to give you in advance?
So just make sure I understand. So
Okay.
you were slated for,
I signed up for overtime. I work second watch, and for third watch they cancel me. My shift is from 6 to 2, and they cancel me at 12:25 p.m. How many hours do they have to give you to cancel you?
it's not like regular time, like if
No?
no, right. So like if you were a nurse is one of the things that comes to mind is work week 2 for the bargaining unit 17. If you
Oh.
show up for your regular shift,
Yes.
and if they send you home, you get 4 hours, at least
Oh,
4.
okay.
But on
I suppose.
overtime, it doesn't work like that, right? Overtime, you just work whatever you work, and then you just get paid for that overtime, but there's no bottom line guarantee of hours for overtime.
Susanna, if you have any more questions, please go into the queue by raising your hand.
Let's move on to Cheryl Douglas. Come on.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I got on the call a little late, so I missed the introduction. But I did get in on the part where you spoke about employees being kind of disenfranchised, doing work, working out of class. I'm in bargaining unit 11, and I'm a transportation engineering technician. And for the past, say, 3 or 4 contracts, I've been a subject matter expert, and we have been fighting to get equity pay.
Mm.
We've done a classification, a report where we did the same research as our counterparts, which are the engineers. We're engineering technicians for the Department of Transportation. And in our conclusion of the same research that in comparison that we did with the local governments, agencies throughout the state, we were below pay approximately $1,500 a month. We did actions. We went to management like we were told we needed to do, all the way up to the director of the DOT. We had a meeting with him. He talked about attrition rate. We hit up Cal HR, and we really confronted the director, assistant director. She's no longer there. And we got back to the union. So Ms. Walker did have a forum for us, which one of the attorneys, Josh Weiser, I believe that was his name, he did a presentation to try to show that we weren't overpaid, but the data he was using was not the California agencies. It was like Arizona, Nevada, locations that aren't like the 4th largest economy in the world. But anyway, I kind of got in late on what you were saying about that, but that just sounded identical to what, was our issue. I've always been a Unit 11 member, and I've always paid dues for the last 31 years as a state employee, and I've been fighting for us this whole time for us to get equitable pay, and along with a lot of other issues in Unit 11. And I've reached out to Brad. We've had conversations over the years, but recently he hasn't been responding. And there's fake talk about Unit 11 trying to decertify. I don't know if it's political, why people are saying that for whatever cause, but that's not the case. I mean, like I said, for contracts, we overturned the last contract because we have been so neglected. And that's how powerful we felt we have gotten by communicating throughout the state with our classification. We're one of the largest classifications in Unit 11. And we've just kind of been pushed to the side. Will that continue to happen the way we do go about bargaining? Having special salary adjustments only if you're special, if you're close to the chair. In our unit, I can only speak for our unit, not the other units, but Ann Hudson, for example, I remember she was a SME and she worked her way up and she became the vice chair. I noticed the last contract and the last couple of contracts that her unit, with all respect, they deserve it. I have no complaints about that, but that, she was able to get for her lab assistants what she had been fighting for as a SME over the last contracts.
Sure.
Hi, Mr.
so-
Douglas. We're going to have to pause you, please, because we have a 2-minute time frame and it has surpassed, but you are welcome to jump back into the queue. And we're going to allow Ms. Uko and Mr. Hall an opportunity to respond to your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And so
Good question.
this plays exactly into what we were talking about tonight. So we were talking about tactics of the boss, tactics that they understand and use against us all the time. And that's what we could refer to as the 4 Ds: delay, divide, distract, demoralize. And remember that when we go to bargain a contract, it's a two-way negotiation. So it's not just we get everything we want from the state. The state also asks us for things to give up that we may or may not want to give up. And then the other piece of the introduction was around the idea of building real power. And you talked about this in being a member. So, we talked about the concept of needing more we instead of me. And that's a choice, right? I choose to stand with my coworkers. I choose to stand with Leslie, right? Leslie chooses to stand with me. And when we come together with that kind of solidarity within our union, that's where our power actually comes from. And Leslie added that, the state, our employer, understands that power dynamic very directly, right? They want the work that you provide, and they need that work. Now, the question I have, and the same question you have, is why aren't they willing to pay us a living wage for that work? Myself, when I'm on the job, I work for Caltrans in Oakland. On what I take home, and I'm a higher paid employee, I can't rent an apartment in Oakland. I could, I won't eat. So how does that help me? And how does that help the state? And then the bigger question is how does that help the taxpayers and the public that we're providing a service to? So these are questions that we definitely will be focusing on. And I do appreciate both your concern, your frustration, and all your comments. I don't know if Leslie has got something to add to that.
No, I think it was stated really well, and you did, what you all did sounds like all of the right things to do, but even though we do all the right things, it doesn't always end the way we would like it to. Sometimes it's a continuing situation, and I think of the IT reclass. That took, I want to say, over a decade, easy.
It was over 10 years.
Yes, it was easily over a decade. And doing a lot of what you had spoke about, sir, with the meetings and the actions, and it still took over a decade for it to occur. And even when it occurred, still everybody wasn't absolutely satisfied with what happened because, again, it started part of negotiations. It's part of that give and take.
So Miranda, we're asking you to unmute again. Welcome back again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I try to cancel it. Just
it's okay.
disregard it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, no, don't apologize. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, thank you. I already got your guys' answer my question.
Okay. Hi, Bobby. How are you tonight?
Unbelievable, thank you. So Bobby Roy, Unit 21 bargaining chair, and a proud member of the bargaining teams that negotiated that affordability healthcare stipend. And so I just wanted to help clarify that it's Article 11.2 in the contract, right? And that article states that if you're a enrollee in a healthcare plan with the state, then you get the $260 healthcare stipend. And that number was based on the average cost of healthcare per enrollee with CalPERS. And so that's how we came up with that number. So for those folks that are on FlexSelect, because they have healthcare through another source, those are the folks that need to re-enroll in FlexSelect now, or else they'll lose the $260 starting in July, at the end of June 22. Or they can enroll in a healthcare plan with CalPERS and they'll continue to get the 260. So it's either you apply for the 260 by getting in a healthcare plan, or you get your FlexSelect amount, which is about 140. And that would recommence starting in July of 2022. So I hope that helps. Also, I know there's been questions on what's the bargaining team gonna do and this and that. As a chair, I have folks reaching out to me every day, telling me about, needs that they have, travel reimbursement, travel per diem, fighting for our professional status in the contract for Unit 21, all kinds of things. So contact your chairs, share it with your bargaining team members, share it with your DBERS. They're the ones that will, you will shape our strategy And we just need the feedback from you all in order to know what it is that you care most about. So thank you.
Thank you for all the factual information, Bobby. You're always a resource. Hi, Gerald. Welcome back.
Hi. I just wanted to add to what I was talking about earlier, some of the tactics that management is using. One, they're hiring, they don't want to use the post and bid. So I've been an advocate to get rid of it for our classification, but it hasn't been an easy task. I know Bobby mentioned about contacting your unit chair. Brad Willis doesn't seem to want to work with us. He's working with Water Resources right now. They're having JLMCs. We haven't been able to get one of those for whatever reason. But management, what they do, they hire engineers in our position. And then after a few years, when the engineering position opens up, they easily go into that position. So they don't replace the positions when our techs leave. That's been the case throughout the state. I've done, like I said, research. We do research and talk, and we have people in all the other districts. They're experiencing the same things that we're experiencing in our district. And there's so many frustrated engineering technicians, they don't know what to do. They lose hope in the union. We raised Unit 11's membership high. It's how we were able to get the vote no to the last contract. It didn't benefit us at all, other than the general things that everyone else received, which is fine, which was good. But yet, what are we to do in that situation when management knows that they can do these things? They don't hire back, like I was saying, because of post and bid. What do we do to get the union to back us in this fight? We were willing to strike. We wore T-shirts on Tuesdays. We wore our purple on Wednesdays. We held meetings at break times. We had no problem doing the actions. We found out that we just didn't get the backing we felt we needed from the union. I know there were other issues going on, but in the past, they say the money's not there, things of that nature. Well, we know that's not true.
Douglas, you've reached the 2 minutes.
It's okay. So, Gerald, stay on for a second. Don't go away. So let's talk about a couple of things here. First, I'm glad you're here tonight, and I do hear your frustration. One of the things myself and the other 3 vice presidents have been telling people is watch our actions, don't judge us by our words. So judge us by what we're doing going forward. We are working to take a new approach. I'm not going to talk about that on an open set like this because I don't know if somebody who is working for the state is on here, and we're not going to talk about strategies or concepts in front of the state at this time. So one thing is, yes, you did all the right things. And no, it didn't turn out the way you expected. As Leslie said, please continue to do all the right things. The other thing I want to say is, and please, I'm just asking some questions here. Are you a steward?
Yes.
Okay. So as a steward for Caltrans, you can get together with your local area staff person. So where do you work?
I work at the Department of Transportation.
Yeah, but where?
Central Valley,
Stockton,
District 6.
District 6.
So that's the Fresno area. So
Right.
that could be Scott, it could be Preston, it could be Manning. There's a couple of different reps.
Okay, so we have a couple of different reps. Let's see if,
Manny and Ryan was there, but I think they moved him to Merced or something.
They've done some jiggling around, but Ryan would be an option. Kerry Klein, I think, is out in that area, as is, and Clyde Smith, he also is out in that area. So what I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, is let me get hold of you tomorrow, and I'll get you in contact with the coordinator for that area. Because I think that's, because your sophistication in what you've discussed, I think we need to just kind of move it up just a little bit and let's start with the coordinator and then you all have discussions and then we'll bring the reps in as you all deem it's necessary. But I really, if you're okay with it, I'd like you to talk to Teresa Saltano Campos. She's the coordinator for that area. And I think that would be a good place to start.
So where I was going with this was, as a Unit 11 steward, you can get with your rep and you can form your own JLMC with Caltrans. You do not need Brad to do that. So you can get your own group together of
Okay.
Unit 11 TETs under Caltrans, go to Caltrans and say, we want a joint labor management committee. We want to discuss wages, working conditions, hiring concerns, and under our contract, they have to meet with you.
Okay.
So that, I think, would be your next positive step. Since you're not getting satisfaction at this time, take it into your own hands.
Our duty statements have been changed as well. The guys out in construction are having to train the contractors now. I mean, they're doing things because they can just get away with it, it seems, management.
Well, that goes back to an issue to bring up at a JLMC, right?
Right.
And then
I get calls all the time from Tex. I got a call from a guy in Truckee. He lives in Nevada, but he works in Truckee. He's having issues. He needs a grievance. And there's a lady down south. They said that they messed up on her tier 1. They were supposed to have her in tier 1 and she was in tier 2. Now she owes $12,000. She has to pay back to the state. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, there is. And so the other thing I would say to you while you're doing this work, recruit as many other people to be stewards as you can so that you have more help, right?
Right.
Spread the work. You can't as a leader support and represent everybody across the whole state, right? You need other people to step up and do the work with you. So I hope that helps. Leslie will follow up with you. And we're going to take the next caller if you're okay with that, Cheryl.
Yes.
All right, super. Hey, thank you.
That was good.
I can't see the name here. Who am I asking to unmute? No, I don't.
Oh,
Angelica?
Oh, Angelito, right.
Angelito. There you go. All right, Angelito. We're asking you to unmute. We finally found you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Angelito Mustajo. I work for West Sacramento EDD. And the reason why I'm calling in regards to the night shift, swing shift, and graveyard shift differential. And for the past many years, the swing shift employee that worked for swing shift is only getting paid $61 per month. And for graveyard shift, we're only getting $81 per month. And I believe that's that kind of compensation is enough, is way far apart what the private company is paying for the night shift payment or salary that they're giving it to their employees. And my question to the union, is there any way we could bump that compensation to a little bit more feasible? Because working at nighttime is, we're already sacrificing our health and away from our family.
So, Angelito, that's right up what's coming up with a new contract, right?
I don't know.
Well, sure it is. So do you know, so you're in West Sacramento
Yes,
and you work at EDD. What unit are you? 1 or 4?
1.
1. And do you know who your Unit 1 Deber is?
You gotta what do you call this? What's the deeper
Your
the
district,
DLC?
your district bargaining unit rep out of your DLC? Do you know
I
who your
believe it's
president?
uh not right now, not on top of my head.
Okay, okay. Are you in contact with your DLC president?
Yes, and
Oh,
I brought
okay,
it to them.
so the
from-
thing, so the thing to do is, it's a valid concern. It applies to our contract, which we're working on getting back to the table for a new contract in 2023. So if you're not sure who your Unit 1 District Bargaining Unit rep is, contact your president.
I
Find
believe
out,
it's Kellen. Kellen.
okay, all right. So get in touch with your Unit 1 District Bargaining Unit rep. Express your concerns either over the phone or in person or through email.
Mhm.
And you know, give them some information about, you know, private company so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so is paying this kind of money for this kind of work. And, you know, we would like to have something comparative, and we would like to see that done in the next contract.
I think it's
And-
not only the EDD West Sacramento. I think it's pretty much blanketed throughout all state employee that work for swing ship or graveyard shift.
Yeah, I think you're correct, but your path to get that information forward is through your local bargaining rep,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
So if you put that forward and you help build that case and you're strong enough, then you're part of the we, and you're helping everybody else in a similar position as you across the whole state.
I understand.
Super.
Okay. And
Thanks.
also, I
Okay,
think
one more?
one more. And I think if there's any suggestion for any, caller, you guys' advice is supposed to be put online to give everybody a chance to get, into the meeting and address their issues. You know what I mean? Some callers are just waiting online just to listen. If you have any suggestion, have that member, get that member number and have that, advice or anything like that offline. So give other caller a chance to speak, what they're calling for.
Oh, I see what he's saying.
That's all.
We understand. We appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Yeah.
good day.
Good
Bye.
night.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Mario. Please
Yes,
unmute.
good evening. I have a question, Mr. Hall.
Yes, sir.
In the last contract, we voted against the contract. But the union, the board, our board here, and also Yvonne Walker at that time, wanted to revote. So why was that when we rejected the contract the first time? Thank you.
Sure. So stay on the line. Don't leave, Mario, because we may get a little bigger discussion. I want you to be able to join back in, okay? So I think I wasn't there for that discussion, that piece of the contract, that vote. Yes, I was a board member, but I wasn't involved between Unit 11 and the local as Local 1000. If you look at the history, I believe it was 1999, Unit 3 rejected the contract. The state never went back to the table with them, and they were locked out and didn't get any contract improvements for 3 years.
At least, yeah.
It was at least 3 years. So for 3 years, the state left them behind as a unit because they voted the contract down. So, one of my concerns as a leader would be to make sure that any unit that votes a contract down understands the position they're putting themselves in fully. So when you vote the contract down, the state is probably not going to go back to the table for just that unit. And that goes back to, right, you know, the tactics, right? Demoralize, distract, divide, delay, and they punish people who basically don't want to agree. Now, that's a separate debate as to whether or not that's right or wrong. But these are the kind of struggles that we end up in. And when a contract comes out and is presented to you for a vote, I think that we come forward as an organization and say, look, this really is the best we can do for you today. It doesn't mean it's the best we should do. Doesn't mean it's what you need or deserve as a member. But what we're saying as an organization to the membership is, today, this is the best we're going to get. And if you don't accept it, there are consequences. So, you know, my inclination from being on the outside, based on what I know, Mario, is that, you know, people were trying to act in your best interest in the big picture, even if you didn't feel it was in your best interest at the time. So again, it's one of those things that, you know, you as a Unit 11 employee may have heartburn over, and maybe rightfully so. But I don't think anybody in leadership on the bargaining team, certainly myself as board chair, I don't want to see anybody hurt themselves unnecessarily or get left behind when we really do feel that we've done the best we can do at the time. So I don't know if that.
No, it doesn't.
I'm sure it doesn't make you feel any better.
Oh, no,
Okay.
it's not about feelings here. Respectfully, the engineers of bargaining number 9 have negotiated a very substantial contract. An engineer can make $10,000 a month. They put a lot of those work on the training, on the transportation techs, which is not fair or equitable. Plus, the transportation techs have to be out there on road hazards. So it's much different than other job occupations that are hazardous. A lot of transportation techs have been hurt on the job, serious injuries, which is not compensated. You have to work at night. I mean, I can go on and on, Mr. Hall. No, I was willing to fight for him, most definitely. And I think, quite frankly, bargaining number 11 was thrown under the bus. Thank you.
All right, Mario. You know, I do hear you. I do respect your position, and I actually work for Caltrans as well. I've been right out next to the TETs on the highway at night myself, and I'm not an engineer, obviously. And I don't disagree with you, and I don't disagree with how strongly you feel about how you're being treated unfairly. I would again encourage you to join in with a JLMC, and let's put more and more pressure on the state to recognize your issues. All right, Mario, thank you. Let's move on. Hey, Scott. Hi, Scott. Would you unmute?
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Scott. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
We're doing well.
Well, there's two things. I'll start with one, and then I'll probably run out of time and call back or raise my hand again for the other.
Okay.
But, since it was brought up, I'll start with the reclass, because that was just mentioned. The IT reclass was a horrible experience for the majority of people in IT. I'm in IT, and people that were the SSS 3 level got combined with the people in the SSS 2 levels, and we're all now ITS 2 with no path to move up. There is none. The ITS 3 is not a union represented position, and it was left outside essentially the envelope yet. That's the position where most of us who are SSS 3s should have been, because we're the architects and the senior subject matter experts for IT, and yet now we're all essentially grouped together. Furthermore, the titles for people like the network specialists, network architects, they're all now IT specialists. Well, IT specialist is the common industry term for a help desk agent. So soon after that happened, and I put that into my LinkedIn, I started getting all these offers to become help desk agents and supervisory positions for help desks throughout the state. It was not a good thing. I know there's a lot of us that are looking at hoping that it will be redressed again and essentially go back and try and fix the things that are wrong with it. But at some point, I think that's going to have to happen, because right now it is very hard to recruit IT to join as members because of the reclass. So I think I'll leave it with that and raise my hand again for the other issue.
Actually, Scott, so you can stay on. I don't have another hand at the moment. So let's go on with your second question.
Okay, thank you. The second one's related to telework, because I guess you're going back to the table. Did I hear a date for that, or just essentially?
April, so Brooke and Irene have reached out to the state, and the agreement is to return to the table April 27th.
So when are they, or is anyone going to be going back to the membership to look at what's concerning the membership now about telework that's not just the money? Because I know Richard made everything about the money, but for a lot of us, it's not the money. For me, I don't care if I get the money or not. I'm more concerned with having to choose whether I'm office-centric or remote-centric, which neither one fits a lot of us in IT, because we're essentially project-centric or work-centric. We work out of whatever offices we have to. So the agreement, at least we got at State Fund, which I don't think is the same one that's going out everywhere else, has some terms in there which apply to non-exempt employees, but being exempt because I'm in IT, they've got statements like employee agrees to timely and accurately record all hours worked, including any overtime hours, worked over 40 hours a week, time off using Oracle. They have to get supervisor pre-approval to work overtime. We don't work time. I'm an FLSA exempt employee, as the majority of IT is. We don't work time. We don't record time. The agreements that are getting put out have no separation in there for exempt and not exempt. It doesn't say if you're an exempt employee, disregard this, or if you're, but we're being asked to sign these things, and then we're going to be subject to these agreements, which like includes time tracking. We don't track time. We're project-based. So.
Okay, so I have an ask, okay? And the ask is, do you have a copy of that telework agreement that Skip
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I can definitely send that. And I think Susan, the bunk chair one, should have it because she works for State Fund.
Yeah, so, right, but I have you on this phone right now.
Yeah, so I can send it
not
to you.
Susan.
No, I know, but I'm just saying I can send it to you.
So yes, if you would send it to myself, and I will get it on to Irene and Brooke. So use B Hall, B Hall, HALL at SEIU1000.org.
Okay,
And
I'll have it tonight.
I think you have a very valid concern. And since we're going back to the table, we can at least discuss that. Now, I know that we're going to have some language in the agreement so that you have the ability to push back a little bit if you're forced into a telework agreement that is not appropriate for you. And along with that, I'm hearing that we're going to have to go back and expand the telework agreement in our next contract for 23. So, we're a little behind the eight ball negotiating something right now with the state since so many other people have settled. So we'll see what what the bargaining teams can do when we return on the 27th.
Yeah,
But
there's-
send, you
There's
have,
one- I'll send it to you tonight. There's one
Yeah.
other phrase that I think is a concern too, and that's that employees acknowledge they may be required in the office or another location based on business needs with or without prior notice. So
sure.
there's
No,
no
no.
timing in there. There's nothing to say within an hour or 2 hours. So basically, the way it's worded, they could tell you, you need to be in another office somewhere farther down in the state, and you better be there now.
Right.
It's impractical.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And it leaves you exposed for abuse of an unreasonable manager. We get that.
And you know, unreasonable managers will find those loopholes.
Yes.
That's what they seem to do best.
Well, I think they were actually trained to do that. I think that they're actually taught to do that myself. I think we give some of our managers too much credit, but right? But they're taught, they're taught the 4 Ds. They're taught the delay, divide, distract, and demoralize. And, when you think about some of these types of agreements they ask us to sign, that one agreement accomplishes all 4 of those in one piece of paper, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and this is part of why, we're talking tonight about, we've sort of getting a little off topic. We're talking about a lot of contract stuff, but that is what membership is about, our contract, right? So, we'll go back to, the reason to choose to stand together, the reason to have solidarity, the reason to build power is so that we can effectively push back when management is unreasonable. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. And wins will drive up membership.
That is true. You are absolutely correct, Scott. So thanks for your time. If you want to come back in, you can. I'm going to come back and we're going to ask Gerald to unmute and join us again tonight.
Hi, I just had a couple of questions. Some from my members. Like I said, I get calls all the time from fellow technicians. One was about the vacation hours. Some are going over the maximum because we were maxed at 640. A lot of other units besides SEIU have got theirs increased to 860. So now we're required to have to make a plan to take time off of work using vacation, even if it's not really wanted to use. Also, will there be stronger language in the contract dealing with the 2020 program? A lot of people had applied for it in the past years, but no one that I've known in all my connections, anyone that's been able to do the 2020 program with the Department of Transportation. I know in the language it says when physically feasible, but it can never be physically feasible if management chooses it not to be. Also, in Truckee, back to the TT in Truckee that lives in Nevada, he's trying to file a grievance, but he's having an issue working, which he's been doing over the years. His management is supporting him, but he said the controller's office or Cal HR is giving him a hard time. I'm not sure who he should talk to. Should he talk to his DLC president?
Well, I have a great idea for that, Gerald. When you and Leslie connect tomorrow,
Okay.
talk to Leslie about that and maybe have his contact information available for her.
Okay.
And we can work on that from our end a little bit and be a little proactive. Agreed?
Absolutely.
There we go.
Okay.
And so I don't have enough information on the 2020 program. I can talk to you about the vacation cap because I work for Caltrans out of Oakland. I'm way over 800 hours. I had to make a plan. Now I'm here on union leave. That plan's not going to work. So I guess they're going to force me to make another plan down the road. The contract says you have to have a plan. It doesn't say you have to use the hours. So, when I make a plan, the plan gets changed. And when my manager changes the plan, the next time I want the plan changed, I change the plan. And when they say something, I say, well, you changed the plan the last time, so why can't I change the plan now? I have a plan, that's what's required. But with that, we're also working on getting the same raise in the cap. We were not at the table talking to the state for the last several months. We are now back to the table and we're engaging, talking to the state. We accomplished 2 side letters this week, and we're working and digging through the work that we have to do. So that is on the discussion list with the state, Gerald, for SEIU.
Okay.
Can I add something about the 2020?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, Gerald, in it's Article 13.31.11, I think you referenced it earlier, with Unit 11. And I think the magic words on here is at the request of the union, individual departments where fiscally feasible shall meet to explore the development of a 2020 program. So do you know in Caltrans, has that ask been made?
Yes, there was an application you fill out and turn in. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
did it myself years ago, but I never got anywhere with it. And after checking with people throughout the state, no one that I know of, and I was sending out emails, to hundreds of texts, to get clarification, and no one's hasn't done it that I know of.
So I think it could be something where we just call one of the labor relations rep at Caltrans and ask some questions about their 2020. And let's see where they are, if they even have one that they've thought about. Because if we're not, going to the supervisor is one thing, but it sounds to me, if we're talking about a 2020 program for a department, that's at a higher level than the individual managers. So we have to see if that discussion has occurred at that level to broaden that idea of a 2020.
Right, that was brought up as a subject matter expert at the bargaining table. We've brought that issue up to, I can't recall our personnel specialist guy. What's his name? He actually just moved up to another position. He's not our Unit 11. I can't think of the term right now. Rep and Cal HR labor relations guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that has been brought up.
How long ago?
Last contract, previous contract.
So it's been a few years then.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that, nothing beats a try, right?
Right.
So we have nothing to lose by going forward again. And this time, maybe we go forward, in a different way than we did previously. But I think this is a longer discussion. And so we can start the beginning of some of this tomorrow when you and I speak.
And that would really help with membership in Unit 11. Like I said, we had the membership up over the past year's contracts. I mean, we built a movement. It didn't take just like one contract year. I mean, we've done this over many years, building this force, this group, and all of Unit 11, not just our classifications. There's electrical technicians, there's structural technicians, there are delineators. There's a lot of other classifications in Unit 11. We mainly I'm reaching out to mainly our engineering technicians because that's what I am, but I'm also reaching as much as I can to others in Unit 11 for that equity at the Department of Transportation, because the Unit 9 engineers, they just get catered to. I mean, and we just work hand in hand with them. There's nothing they do that we aren't involved in. And they use us in other areas. They're moving my buddy Bill, William Leon, to another position to work with this new broadband that they just infrastructure that I guess Biden sent money to California. Now we've got to do this along the highway, this broadband system. And he doesn't want to leave. He's taking care of his wife, who was a nurse, but her health is really bad now. And now they want to move him to another group. So he has an issue with that. He's having to take care of her. And it's just, they just use us because I think they feel that they can, because the union is not really back, and they feel like we got defeated because our union hasn't really fought for us in the way that we feel that it should. But, that goes for interpretation.
Yeah, and again, it's interpretation. Absolutely it is.
Right.
And moreover, I think that we can totally have that discussion tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds great.
So reach out to us, Gerald, and we'll reach back, okay?
Yeah, I'll give you a call
Thanks,
tomorrow.
thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Hi, Corey, please unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
I do understand that you just said that the union is working on 2 side letter agreements in the next couple of weeks. Did you guys mention what is in regards to that side letters?
No, I didn't. We just completed or executed 2 side letters that had to do with cleanup language regarding some permanent intermittents. I haven't actually seen them yet, although I was supposed to see them today. So I don't have a lot of information. I think really the message I'm trying to deliver is Local 1000 is back talking with the state. We're having a dialogue. The work is starting to happen. That work had not been happening going back into December. So,
And the reason why I asked that is I do see it looks like the union may have created a Reddit account under the state of it says CA State of California. And on there, it did mention about the straight talk, this meeting on Wednesdays. And
Okay.
it looks like a lot of the comments are reflecting on what members would like to see. And it looks like the most common areas is telework, how is the state going to curb inflation? And so one of my questions is if the union is going back to the state to work on side letter agreements, just like the state was able to negotiate the 9.23% pay cut for all state workers, is that something that the union is looking forward to maybe create a side agreement, a letter to curb inflation?
I mean, I'm not an economist, but I've not ever heard of a side letter that's going to stop inflation.
Okay, well, so let me take that back. So the state was able to take the 9.23% away from us, creating that side agreement letter. Now, obviously, we know that inflation and gas prices and everything else has been well above what we get for our GSI over the last year and a half. And so since we're technically not going to the bargaining table until next year to actually get a contract, how is the union protecting state workers' wages? What I'm asking you is, are you guys willing to go to bat for us and try to create a side leader agreement letter to curb that inflation, giving us an additional some type of GSI or additional wages increase to find that curb?
Sure. So Corey, we can go and ask and they can say no. So just understand, yes, we can ask and the state can say no. So that goes back to, how do we have enough power, right? How do we have enough solidarity? How do we have enough people choosing to stand together so that when we make that ask, the state has to respond, right? When our membership numbers are higher, the state is more responsive than when our membership numbers are lower. So I'm right there with you. I work for my state paycheck and it is painful right now. And I would love to see a side letter agreement that gave us more money to deal with the crazy inflation we're dealing with today. I'd also like to see a side letter that would make up for the 5 zeros that we got under Schwarzenegger. So yes, we can ask and just remember the state can say no.
Well, correct. However, I guess my point is would you guys notify union members, like on a straight talk, of what you guys actually went to the table with and what the state responded? What I'm hearing is that, yes, you can ask, but you're not at this time willing to ask for a side lean agreement to increase our wages. That's what I'm hearing from you guys right now.
Oh, okay, Corey. So I'm going to let Leslie talk for a minute.
Chomping at the bit.
And I'm going to come back and probably have a closing comment as well.
Yeah, so when you're talking about finances, the state is not interested in giving up money. Regardless, they're just not. So we have to have some leverage when we come to the table to even make that ask so that the ask is taken seriously. And so usually what happens in any type of bargaining situation, that is moved by what happens out at the work sites. So when the work sites are active, and this is just an example, Corey, not that this is what's going to happen, but let's just as an example, we've got 100,000 members all over the state of California. And if we could get even 25,000 of those people to do the same thing at the same time, whatever that might be, at the time that we're talking at the table, now we got something. But if it's just to say, state, you ought to do the right thing because we've had these hits for quite a while now, and now we are stuck with inflation. Gas in some locations is over $6 a gallon, but yet our income has not risen. They're going to say, yeah, that's really sad. We're sorry to hear that.
Okay, so I understand that financially. However, we all do know that we had 17,000 or 20-some thousand signatures for the essential worker pay. And then also, this, like I said, the state's able to take away our money, and we have a huge surplus for the last 2 fiscal years, right? So that should be enough bargaining to go say, hey, and put pressure on them saying, hey, you're giving money to $12 billion here, $10 billion to any political funds that you guys have. And this is why I think that with the state of California, that no strike clause is very huge. Because as we saw that the Nurses Association, the Teachers Association, they just went on strike and they were able actually to go back to that bargaining table and fight. See, with that, when the union, we're not allowed to do that right now. So yes, we are at a huge disadvantage because of the language that's written in our contracts. They pretty much, the state has pretty much handicapped us, and they've pretty much said, well, you take what we give you. So that's where I think that we need to take a lot of that language out of that, so that way we can technically put the union back in a power stance.
So Corey, we're going to have Brooke, our contract staff person, who's our attorney, back on in a couple of weeks. I hope you'll come back and have these questions for Brooke again when she returns. She was here 2 weeks ago. Because Brooke is the right person to talk about the no strike clause, why it's there, how it works for us, how it does work against us in some ways, and the reasons for it. So it's a lot more complicated than it might appear. The other thing I want to address for a second is I don't want you to feel tonight that your questions aren't being answered. Leslie is our director over our resource center and our field staff. I'm your board director. My role here is to run the day-to-day operations. I get to come out here and be a host for an hour and a half on Wednesday nights. You get to talk to me and whoever our guest is. And I should not be the person who's speaking for bargaining because I'm not part of that team. Irene Green is your vice president of bargaining. Brooke Pierman is your staff person over bargaining, and they're the right people to be answering your questions. I can give you factual information. We reached some side letter agreements. That's a fact. I really should not be talking for the bargaining group. So I don't want you to feel like you're being put off, even though it may sound like that initially, but I would invite you to come back in 2 weeks when we have Brooke here again and ask your very pointed questions around, why we have a no strike clause, why that's in the contract, what that means to you effectively. I would like to assure everybody on the call tonight of one thing, and that's that the discussions around our next contract, with me at least, started on the Monday I walked into the office. And the reason it didn't start on Sunday was because I was dealing with somebody who was occupying our building on Sunday. So, please come back. I really encourage you to listen to Brooke around the issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. David, I'm trying to ask you to unmute.
Sure, no problem.
There
Thank
you are.
Okay, so my question, I guess, trying to stick with the theme is for membership. So I had asked in one of the meetings that we had in a local work site, like, hey, who's a member, who's not a member? Nothing personally identifiable, but just like, hey, if there's a big IT contingent in this DLC or that DLC, like, hey, we'd like to reach out to them, not me personally, but maybe as a group or something, so we can get together and, members, numbers are power. So, when I asked that, they said, well, why do you want that information? I felt very put off by that. So, how can we see who are members, where are the strong membership numbers to reach out to them if we're in different parts of the state, to maybe reach out to that DLC or someone in that DLC to say like, hey, we're doing this here, are you guys doing that there? And this ties into the website. There's not enough contact information for DLC folks, because last week the wrong link was sent out for this meeting. A lot of people didn't get in. I emailed the Ask Annika email address. I emailed my DLC the email address that was listed there. Up to today, I still haven't got a response. So I'd like to see at least more accessible ways to communicate with people in my own DLC and other folks statewide, because not much is listed on the website, unfortunately, and it would be really great and probably a good, powerful tool to have members have the ability to talk to other members, in different work sites, work areas, stuff like that, because we don't know. I mean,
No, David, if I can interrupt, this is Leslie. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Talking to each other is the beginning, right, of really building something strong and something that can last. But we also have security concerns. We have the Freedom Foundation that wants your information, and they want other people's information for nefarious purposes. And we have a duty to protect people's information. We can't just give it out. Otherwise, we could become.
Oh, I understand that. Like I said,
but let me tell you though. Let me finish
sure.
though. But
Oh,
we
absolutely.
do have, and what we are starting is, with COVID, really kind of, you know what it's done. I don't have to tell you, but it has really made it harder for us to get out into the field because a lot of people aren't there, and then we have, folks that, all of these various restrictions. But as things are starting to open up more, we are going to have an opportunity to be out in the field more. And I think the more that we, as some staff and members that are out in the field and having more events like we had in the past, I think that's going to be a really nice way to bring people together. So as an example, we had an event out in Southern California this last week at one of the state hospitals, and it was very well attended. Almost 200 people showed up, and we were just kind of out front in a well-traveled area, and we gave away things, we talked to people. But just doing that, we were able to have members speak to other members, and some of them were like in the same place and didn't know the other one existed. So I think once we start to open up and get out, that will naturally happen. And I think another thing, David, is the more, you get involved, because are you a steward, sir?
I'm not, but I'm in Southern California. I never heard about that
Okay.
event. So
Yeah. Where do you work?
For transportation, Caltrans.
Okay, see, this was at a Metro State Hospital, so you wouldn't have heard about it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
but
we can do
this
the
goes
same
back
thing at
to
Caltrans, though.
well, this goes back to the website about putting information out there, so I can check it and say like, oh, so in Metro State Hospital, whatever SCIF, whatever agency or something is hosting that. That'd be nice to
We
have.
that.
And about the information, does that go with DLCs as well? DLCs, CBERS, they can't put like an email address where they're accessible, because I understand membership members, information want to be protected. Agree 1000%. But
Right.
what about, DLCs, the DLCs, CBERs, DBERs? How do we get in touch with them if there's no way to get in touch with them via the website?
The Member
To
Resource
ask
Center.
questions or something like that.
The Member Resource Center, you would call them and say, hi, I'm David. I work here at Caltrans and I'm interested in speaking to some DLC leaders, either the president or the CBER or the DBER. And then what the MRC rep will do is they will reach out to that person and say, hey, we have a member here named David and he would like to talk to you. Is it okay that I go ahead and give this information to David? Or we would ask you first, David, can we give their information to you? So that you all can connect that way. And I believe that we have some sites on the website that have emails for DLCs.
Some,
There's a DLC map.
There's a DLC map.
Right, and I've visited that map. So taking last week as an example, I emailed my DLC president, hey, what's the right link to join the meeting? I still haven't heard from that person. So, I mean, what do I do then?
Call the
Oh.
MRC.
But I can't call them at 6:30 at night asking for the link. So what do I do?
They're open till 7. You could.
Well, first of all, David, we have to apologize because that was a screw up last week on our end.
Oh, absolutely,
And-
absolutely.
and-
Everyone's human. We all make mistakes. I totally
Yeah,
get that.
but that link for this show comes out of here, okay? So your DLC president wouldn't have been able to give it to you easily anyway, okay?
So here's
So-
the funny thing that a person, not the president, but another person in my DLC, I heard them on the call and I had no way in getting in touch with them
Sure.
to say like, hey, I heard you,
Sure.
I'd like to join, so.
So our website is, let's just say problematic. We're aware. The director who is over that arena of communications is sitting in the room with us tonight. He's well aware. We've had discussions, and it is somewhere on the to-do list. As many current problems as we've had to deal with, I don't know when we're going to dig far enough through the to-do list and resource it and fund it and make it happen. But it is something that is being discussed. So we do understand and we hear the complaint about the website on a pretty regular basis. And I just want you to know that we respect that.
So as a member, can I help with anything in trying to fix that?
Are you in IT?
I am,
You are.
yes.
David, I'm going to write, so I two things, okay? So first, I'm going to write down your name so I can look you up
There you go.
because I have the technology to do that.
Okay.
And we will reach out and connect. And since you offered to possibly be part of that project, we do have a team that we're putting together to work on it. I will add your name.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I could, David, I could have one of the reps out there in the LA area reach out to you as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to just a few reps, and like you said, with COVID, it's challenging with the face-to-face.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
hey, we don't have face-to-face, but we have email. We have
Yeah, we do.
chat, Zoom, WebEx,
Yep.
whatever we have. So
So I'll have somebody reach out to you then.
All right,
Yeah.
David. Hey, we've gone long and I've
Sure,
got a couple
sure.
other hands up and we're getting short on time tonight. So thanks
you.
and we'll follow up with you. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
thank you.
It's great.
Hello again, Bobby. Welcome
Hello.
back.
Thank you. I just wanted to correct the record that the SCTA, the Sacramento City Teachers Association, they actually do have a no strike clause in their contract. It's Article 3.7. But, per in 2010 ruled, right, in their landmark case that an unfair labor practice strike is legal. And so there are certain things that need to happen before any public sector union can go on strike. And those things were met in this last labor action. A quick question, hopefully something easy for Leslie, and then one that's a little bit more substantial. What's the difference? I've heard like MRC and URC. Is there a difference? Are they one and the same? Is that just two?
No, they're totally different, Bobby. I appreciate you, sir. That's an awesome question. So let me, the acronyms, you know how we love acronyms, right? We just love acronyms. So URC is the Union Resource Center, and that's the advocacy arm, meaning that's where your reps are housed. So if you have grievances, you have problems with management, meet and confers, low-level meet and confers that are dealing with a particular single location, notice of adverse actions where people are having disciplinary issues. We deal with all of that and a few others. Now, our member resource center, that's our call center. That's where we have our reps that will answer the phone from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that number, just in case there's by any chance somebody doesn't have it, is 866-471-7348. And we have reps there that can answer questions like, maybe just have a quick question. If it's more detailed or more complicated, they will then send a referral to a rep who will then call you back within 48 hours. And that's the difference. So that's the Member Resource Center, and they take the calls. What maybe like if people do RSVPs, they may call into the MRC to RSVP for an advanced steward training. That's that group. And then the URC are where our reps are housed that can do the more sophisticated, detailed issues that come up in the area. Yeah, and all in representation, absolutely.
Okay. And then the second question, since the reorg, right, when organizing and the Union Resource Center kind of got merged, how's it going? What's working? What's not? What could be requested? How can we make it easier?
I didn't do this, I swear. I don't want Bill to think I salted the call, because I didn't salt the call at all. But I appreciate you, Bobby.
It's an inside joke between Leslie and I, because we had a conversation just yesterday.
That's awesome. So it's working, I think, pretty well. Matter of fact, one of the things that we've noticed is a reduction of escalations. Escalations come to us 9 times out of 10, it's because somebody hasn't received a call back. In the previous configuration, we had way more representation than we did people to facilitate those. With the advent of what we're doing now, we have almost, not quite, but almost doubled the amount of people that can do this work. So that has been excellent. The organizers that were, in the field department that are now really more URC reps have really taken it on. We've had intense training. We're still constantly doing training. And they've just really found their feet. They found their grounding in it. But we're still working in the area of organizing, but we're trying to do that with more of a member-centered organizing, because I will tell you, organizing works with members. Staff can assist, but the real organizing that's going to effectuate a change comes from members. And that's constantly, we've got training in that. Alex Hernandez is helping us in that area. We've got some new programs coming down that I can't talk about, otherwise I'll be in, they'll come after me, and I don't want them coming after me, so I got to keep some things under my hat.
Staff or me?
Both. I want to be cool here, Bobby. I want to be cool. But yeah, it's exciting, and people are really taking to it. And I'm one of the things we did the other day was talk about how they're working with their DLC leadership. And some DLCs already have membership plans and organizing plans that they're putting in place, and with the assistance of the rep, and they're hitting the ground running. So there's some exciting things going on. And as I stated earlier, the more we open up, the better it's going to be. The more people get to see us, the more we get to see them, and the closer I think we get to work together. Because this is great that we can do it electronically, but nothing like looking into a person's eyes and over a cup of coffee.
And just to answer just one more, and I'm going to be a little vague, so please just tolerate that. We are making some adjustments, and we are moving forward with some different plans around the organizing piece. Okay, so there's going to be some adjustments coming. They're in the works now. Some of those adjustments require us to make sure we understand our finances thoroughly, so that we can make and keep commitments as we move forward. So, and we have to do this work to be successful in our next contract.
Yes. Thank you for the questions, Bobby.
Yeah. Good evening, Christina. Please unmute.
Good evening.
Can you speak up? We can hardly hear you.
Sorry.
There
Now
you
can
are.
hear me?
Yes, we can.
I know you're running short on time, so the conversation I wanted to have will wait. Besides, I don't want to be in a worse mood than I'm in. So, well, first thing, welcome back, Leslie. Nice to see you back.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry for everything that's gone on.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm in the same boat. I had two at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
Secondly, to the gentleman that was talking about his buddy or his coworker that's being transferred, he may want to look at Article 15.1 and see if that applies. I don't know about the transfer part or where they're transferring his buddy to or anything, but Article 15.1 talks about involuntary transfer. And he may want to look at that and see if it helps his buddy in any way. And I will reach out later about the other conversation I wanted to have.
All right, Christina, you know how to reach me directly if you need to.
I'm going to reach out to Leslie. Thank you.
Okay.
See
All
you
right.
later.
Thank you,
Bye.
Christina.
Bye.
And let's go back to Corey. Corey, welcome back. You're going to probably close out our show tonight.
Thank you for taking my call again. It was just a quick comment. I think I caught you guys off guard when I mentioned that the SEIU Local 1000, it looks like they may have created a Reddit page and it posted on the CA State Workers headline. It looks like you guys were caught off guard on that. And I just wanted to mention that it does show it's from the SIU Local 1000 communications team. So I'm not for sure who's in charge of that, but it's kind of odd that we're on this Talk Straight, and it does mention that Bill Hall is going to do an AMA on Friday at 3 p.m. And then also,
I believe that's correct, Corey.
And then also it does talk about the weekly straight talk. So I just find it kind of, odd about this communication piece that the other gentleman was talking about the website and how a lot of communication is not put out. And it looks like you guys didn't even know about this Reddit page that your own communications team is put out. So I just kind of wanted to mention that it's kind of ironic. We're talking about a communication and you guys are not communicating with each other.
No, actually we are. I was just being deadpan and not giving anything away, just like if I was sitting across from the bargaining table with the state, because I'm getting a wink, wink from over on the sidelines. But yes, we will be on Reddit, and yes, I will be there on Friday. And yes, that was planned. And yes, I did know about it.
Okay, good. Because like I just said, I apologize, but it seemed like when I was looking at you guys' facial expressions, it looked like you guys were just really just didn't know. And I was just, kind of surprised in that you guys didn't jump in and say, oh yeah, we saw that. We saw that this was on there.
No apology necessary. Sometimes we just have to deadpan things. That's all.
Okay.
So thanks for that, and thanks for circling back. So I see no other hands. We're at 7:58. We're going to be respectful and end on time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Come back next week when we talk with Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer David Jimenez. And the following week, Brooke Pierman, our staff person over our contracts department, director over contracts. Come back, join us, bring your questions, and hopefully we can work a happy medium between the topics for the guest, right, and answering your questions and concerns.
Thank you for having me.
So, and thank you for being here, Leslie. And I hope that this was a help to everybody on the call tonight. Thank you for being here. Have a great night, and let's work on more power and more solidarity. Thank you, everybody.